Good afternoon and welcome to You and Your Business with me, Alec Drew, on 103.2 Dublin City FM. Each week, I invite an expert from the world of business to share their knowledge, insights and tips to help you with your business challenges. If there's a topic you would like covered, or if you feel you can make a contribution, please email me at yourbusiness@dublincityfm.ie and perhaps we'll be having a chat here one day soon. My guest today is the co-founder and owner of Dublin's first day spa, the Buff Day Spa. She's an experienced business consultant and mentor, and she's a member of the Executive Council of the Hair and Beauty Industry Confederation. I'm delighted to welcome Eileen Fleming to the You and Your Business studio. Hi, Eileen.
Hi, Alec. Thank you so much for inviting me on here today.
Oh, delighted to have you here. And quite an interesting story and many things that happened in your life, but let's get straight into it. Last day in school, are you the academic, are you the person who wants to travel, or are you just going to be dossing around? Which one are you?
I was definitely the academic in my family. I always remember my dad pulling me out of my bedroom at 7:30 to watch Coronation Street. And I was like, Dad, I've got to study.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yes.
So yeah, I loved school, always had a real passion for learning, and it hasn't left me, to be quite honest.
Oh, that's fantastic. It's fun. All right. So in school, you're obviously going to have a plan then. What are you going to do after school? Are you going to go to university, or what do you want to do?
So I applied for a couple of different courses. My main passion in school, I loved French for some random reason.
Yeah.
And I applied to go to UCG in Galway, where I did French and German. I hadn't done German in school, so that was quite a difficult learning curve, starting off where everybody else had done 5 years up to Leaving Cert, and I was there with zilch. But I really enjoyed it and spent 3 years there and 1 year then in Germany on the Erasmus program.
Okay, fantastic. I suppose we all know that if you immerse yourself in a language like going to the country, you will become much better at it.
Absolutely. And it's incredible. I haven't spoken French or German in years. So don't ask me to do it right now. But I know if I go back to the country, it takes about 2 or 3 days. And it's amazing how quick it can come back. But when you don't use it, you lose it, as we know.
That's true. My niece grew up in Germany for the first about 7 or 8 years of her life. And I remember being away on holidays in Turkey with her, and there was these street hawkers trying to sell stuff, and they spotted we spoke English, and then they broke into German as they spoke to each other, which was very handy because we knew exactly what they were saying. Anyway, that's another story. So anyway, you have both of these language. Okay, so what are you going to do with them? What business are you going to go into?
Well, at the time, it was still mid-90s in Ireland. So to get any job was great. You know, it wasn't like as if the time of the millennium when there was lots going on. So I started, first of all, working for a freight company in Dublin, basically speaking to their German customers and, you know, answering questions in German for their customer service department. Now, that was a really tough job because everybody wanted their package delivered by 10 o'clock and they were ringing me at 10 past 10 because it wasn't here. So that was, you know, it was great to get the business experience. But from there, I went on to work in a different company called iOmega, which I don't know if you ever remember the zip drives and the jazz drives from way back.
I do.
So I went to work there for their customer service department, and I found out I had a flair for IT.
Okay.
Never really copped that before. My ex-husband had to show me how to put a floppy disk into a computer before I even started. So I had no understanding of concept of computers before that, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I remember the drives because I owned and ran a design and a branding company, and memory was huge and a requirement. So from SideQuest to all sorts of various hard drives. All right, so IT of all things, my goodness, so much for the languages. You're in IT, you've taken a liking to it. Where are you going to take that to next?
Well, I suppose I remember at the time the energy I had, you know, when you're young in your 20s. I loved to work. I thrived on work. And I suppose that particular company was incredible to work for. I ended up moving, I got a promotion. I moved to their IT department in Holland, in Utrecht.
Oh, right. That's interesting. So you have German and French, but you don't have Dutch.
No, they all speak incredible English in Holland, thank God.
Thank goodness. Okay. And how'd you find that?
I loved it. It was an incredible experience, you know, living away again from home you know, being in the workforce abroad, not just studying abroad.
Sure.
And, you know, it was incredible pressure at the time too, you know, but what, you know, what lands on your table, you end up doing it. And yeah, it was a brilliant experience. And I learned an awful lot there. You know, it really helped progress my career, having that next step.
You mentioned that a number of people found it quite stressful. What do you think was the driving force of the stress? I mean, for companies out there, stress is obviously one of the key drivers in companies now for losing employees. What do you think back then might have been the issue?
I think back then it was because everything was so dependent on the technology, you
Right.
know, that if you're working in an IT company and the server goes down, you
Yes.
know, no work gets done. You know, there was a shipping company underneath that we were actually responsible for there as well. If their server went down, again, the orders didn't happen. And it
Right.
was incredible, like it was a complete and utter business stop to the business if something went wrong in the IT department. Hence the pressure was on. You could be in the server room having 3 directors looking at you while you're trying to get the server back up, you know, so it was highly pressurized. But, you know, as I said, an incredible experience to have gone through that in my early 20s.
Yeah. And certainly having people standing over your shoulder while you're under pressure, it's just the recipe you need, you know? Yeah. So
Really helped.
anyway, it was a learning curve for you, but you discovered something of great value out of it.
Absolutely. My friends took me one weekend to have a massage in a spa in Amsterdam. And
Right.
this was my first introduction to ever having had anything like that. And Alec, it changed my life.
Fantastic. That's fantastic. It changed your life. Okay. Massage people are probably poo-pooing that, but, and they think of it in different ways in the sense of, you know, it's more sports and relaxation, but obviously you got some massive benefit from all the stress and strain.
Absolutely. It was the closest thing I ever felt to, you know, being in heaven. I was just so relaxed on a completely different level and just felt such intense happiness.
Right.
And I left after that massage going, I need to get into this industry. And I know it's so different from IT and tech to going into massage and beauty, but that one massage propelled me to go back to college and actually train as a massage therapist.
Wow. Wow. Done. All right. So obviously it had a profound influence on you and it was going to have a profound influence on your future.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. At the time, 2 of my friends in Holland, both of them were English. We'd often go visit each other, and you know, I'd go visit them in England, and one was ended up in America. We'd go and visit each other and actually visit spas in their locality. When they came to Ireland, there was no spa in Dublin at the time, so I ended up bringing them to a small little beauty salon with curtains for, you know, for treatment rooms. It wasn't a
right.
great experience, and that's where the idea of the Buff Day Spa came from, to actually set up a spa, Dublin's first spa in Dublin city centre.
It's interesting from somebody in business to technology on the content discovering. So you actually saw a business in this whole offering that you kind of went, yeah, actually, I think there could be a lot of people interested in it.
Absolutely. And especially because, you know, we were there in our 20s, working, having good disposable income, wanted to do something, not just go to the restaurant or the pub, but to do something else. And that's when we saw a huge gap in the market in Dublin. Now, myself, I had the IT background, Marcia was an accountant, and Joe had been working in sales. So the 3 of us had our business backgrounds, and off we went, and we trained in our different disciplines in the beauty sector then.
Yeah, I love this. We're going to set up a business, which none of us have the skills for. Now, we do have the composite skills to run a business, but we don't have any of the actual skills to do it.
I know it's a little bit reversed, isn't it?
Yes. Okay. Well, fine. You know, but at least you're starting with some basis. I mean, a lot of people start with nothing, but but you have a plan. And one of the great things about the 3 of you and the various disciplines that you have is that it allows you to think more differently than a lot of people setting up a business. So you recognize the skills you need and you go out and find them.
That's it.
Plus,
And often people do it the other way around. They have the skills and set up the business, but they don't have the business skills. So maybe we did it a little bit reversed.
well, listen, it's worked. So tell me about the early days of that sort of offering, how you went out to get your clients and bring them on board and show them that you had something different to offer from, I'm sure, a plethora of other companies that were out there offering something similar.
Exactly. So I suppose in 2002, this is all pre-Facebook, pre-social media, anything like that. It was good old-fashioned golden pages, seeing what size of an ad you could have on that. We did have a
Oh,
website.
mm,
It was basically going around to different places, trying to go to networks, trying to get the word out of there, to get the word out there in the Dublin community about who we were and what we were doing and what we stood for. So it was very old fashioned when you think of what happens nowadays. 20 years ago,
sure.
business was a very different environment then.
But you must have been bringing a sort of professional view to this, because obviously you would have had clarity around what the offering was, and also known who your target audience was.
Absolutely. And from the whole point of like even doing the basic marketing, like SMS and email, we would have been on that straight away. Whereas maybe other people that might have been smaller than us, not necessarily spas in Dublin, mightn't have already kind of grasped that concept, might have even not even had a computer system. They could have
Right.
been having the old fashioned books, taking appointments with a pencil and, erasing them out. Whereas we would have got technology in straight away from the start.
Listen, unfortunately, Eileen, there are people today who still use books and pencils and do that. I'm shocked when I see it, but they're still out there.
Yeah.
And if you're just joining us now, you're listening to You and Your Business with me, Alec Drew, on 103.2 Dublin City FM, where my guest today is Eileen Fleming. All right, so I'm seeing technology, which is a background that you had, but you are going to use technology in the business to drive processes. And I think this is also a pet love of yours as well.
Absolutely. So I would have always been, I suppose, very systemized in nature, from living in Germany, from working in IT, from seeing the benefits of having systems in place. This is something we would have always kind of touched upon, but never so more as the years went on and as business went on. And I can tell you about that afterwards as well. I suppose there's a few little pieces in between to go through.
Yes. Yeah, but I think you at least you've set up a business the right way in terms of yeah, processes were important. I'm kind of focusing on this because I know this is something that you're very passionate about, and maybe you might talk to our audience a bit about processes.
Okay, so I suppose the journey from there would have been that over the years, myself and my two business partners, we would have parted ways in 2008 and 2015. And when the business was then on my shoulders, that there was no other business partners to lean on and it was purely on me, I really realized that I needed to systemize the business so that it would run without me or any other director in the business. So this is where I got really down, getting checklists in place, getting the whole customer journey mapped out from start to finish,
Right.
to make sure that all of the training was done, that everybody in the business knew exactly what they needed to be doing at all times, and bringing that consistency to the business, whether I was physically in the building or not. And that's a huge passion of mine now.
Fantastic. All right, I'm still going to go back a bit. We'll go back to those days, those heady days of running the spa. New skills. The three of you have picked up new skills. You're going to learn them, but there's challenges to be faced out there. Family is going to become one of them.
Yes. So not a lot of planning was happening in 2007. When previously in 2006, we had expanded to take the floor above us open, to open it up. We started off with 6 treatment rooms. We expanded to have 11 treatment rooms. And then in 2007, the 3 of us got pregnant within 3 months of each other.
No.
So that was incredible at the time.
Incredible and highly challenging as well, because one of the things I think business owners discover very quickly is while they may be going to have a family, the time off is far less than you'll get working for somebody else.
Absolutely. And the practical nature of our work, massage therapists, beauticians, there's a certain point when you're pregnant that you cannot do that work anymore. But what it made us realize was we actually really started to work on the business so that the business functioned really well with us while we were on maternity leave, however length of time that we took. So that would have been the real catalyst for us getting the business up and running really well without us being there.
I mean, you talk about the 3 of you coming together. one of the real challenges I think business often has is having partners and falling out and all sorts of things like that. You avoided that. Would you share any secrets you think might have been the reason that the three of you were able to keep relationships, even though, as we now look back, two of them have left and moved on to do other things?
Yeah, like, don't get me wrong, at the time, we did have our arguments and our disagreements and everything. Absolutely. When you've got three different strong opinions about how something should be done, that can be challenging to navigate the right one. But I suppose there's essentially, we were originally friends, and I know everybody says don't go into business with your friends. I disagree with that, because I knew them both very well. And I knew their strengths, and I knew what they had to bring to the business, as I knew, as opposed to going into business with an unknown person. That's one thing. But I think when you keep the utmost respect there, you treat everybody else how you want to be treated.
Yes.
If I was being brought out into business, how would I like to be treated? And I think when that's there, there can be fairness all around.
And it's an interesting dynamic, because with three people there, there's always a potential for two to gang up on one when it comes to sort of voting on some strategy or other. Hang on, Eileen. Something's happened. You've gone silent on me there. I suppose one of the dynamics of having three people in a business as partners, there's a tendency potentially for maybe two to gang up against the third in terms of maybe some sort of strategic decision. How did you manage that? Because there must have been a bit of navigating there from time to time.
Yeah, that would never really have occurred. I think all of us came into the business with integrity and respect for each other. So
Sure.
there was no ganging up two against one, or behind the scenes chat or anything like that. I think we all, as I said, had too much respect for each other and ultimately wanted the best for the business, and however we navigated that, then we came to the agreement on that.
And in terms of from a social interaction, did you still have the same level of social interaction, or did that dynamic change once the three of you went into business?
We would have still, I suppose we were working a long hours every week, and spending a lot of time together. And we would have still had social interactions, absolutely, but probably less so, because yourself, starting a business, it's very intense. Yes. And when you're working 10 or 12 hours a day, maybe you do not want to socialize with the same person for another hour in the evening.
No. That must have been interesting too, an interesting dynamic for the business. But anyway, it all worked out. You mentioned that sort of the first person who left the partnership, and it was all sorted out nicely. Everybody was quite happy with it, but there must be an interesting sort of decisions had to be made then, and how the dynamic of the business changed.
Absolutely. I suppose, we were missing a crucial piece there. Jo ended up moving back to the States with her husband and her baby at the time. So her strength would have been on the sales. So myself and Marcia then would have really had to, really up the ante with regard our knowledge, with regard to bring in what needed to be done to increase the sales, to keep the sales where they were, everything like that. To focus on the business development, the customer care, everything. And we just had to upskill ourselves.
All right. No, very good. And if you're just joining us now, you're listening to You and Your Business with me, Alec, on 103.2 Dublin City FM, where my guest today is Eileen Fleming. Eileen, take us forward, because then there was further challenge to be faced with the business. You have obviously a business that's expanding, and expanding businesses bring their own challenges, because you're employing more people and the whole management system. Talk to me a bit about that.
Yes, absolutely. And I suppose the nature of our business, trying to keep our employees for a good number of years, it can always be challenging, especially in Dublin city centre, because they can go everywhere and anywhere, and around the corner there's another job, maybe being paid more money, everything like that. So training and trying to keep the service levels and the standards to the height that they are, it's a constant challenge within business. But as I said earlier, I have a love of education, and anybody that comes into our business has to have that want to grow and want to develop. There's no point coming in doing something now and you're going to be doing the same thing in 2 years. That is just not, you're not the right fit for our team if that happens.
Right. In terms of sort of retaining talent, which is a challenge that I think a lot of business face today, throwing money is not necessarily the solution. So how did you sort of garner that whole thing of people staying with you?
Okay, so first and foremost, it's really important to me that we have a really, really dynamic team. And what I mean by that is that we're supportive, that the team comes first before anything else. So
Right.
one person, as you know, can upset the team with whatever energy they're bringing in,
Yep.
whatever comments they're bringing in. That is just not tolerated in our company whatsoever. So the team comes first and the team dynamics come first. We have, as I said, we have a real growth mindset within the company. So we only attract people that want to grow, that want to develop, that want to learn,
Sure.
that want to improve their skill set, not just in doing treatments, but in sales, in customer service, in, improving their English if they're from abroad,
Sure.
different things, in personal, professional development. We do a lot of leadership courses. We provide them for our employees if they so wish to do that. So we're very wide open to the growth of the person that works for us, whether it's in beauty therapy or massage therapy or personal development.
And that's an interesting one because you're upskilling people continuously. So it's important, obviously, to retain them as much as possible, because you could be unfortunate in terms of upskilling people to kind of go, I think I'll go off and set up my own business now that I know all there is to know about it.
That can happen too. But look, we bring in training contracts, so when people start with us, they sign a training agreement that they're going to stay with us for X amount of months, otherwise they've got to pay X amount back. And
Sure.
that sometimes can actually stop people in their tracks from actually taking a position with us. So we've been burnt loads of times. Somebody's applied for a visa to Canada and they want a job for 2 months and they start with us and
Sure.
then they're off after 2 months, So having something as simple as a training contract in place just stops that happening essentially.
And I think there's an important sort of lesson for businesses out there. I mean, we're always keen to retain, we're keen to upskill the people with us. So having a contract in place that sort of keeps them there for a certain amount of time. I know I did it in my business, but I'm not sure a lot of companies do it. And
I suppose it's just an agreement, a training agreement, just to say if we're providing training for you and paying for training for you, you're agreeing to stay with us, and otherwise you're paying a certain portion back. And it's all above board, and it's very understandable from a business point of view, but it's very understandable, I think, from an employee's point of view when they understand the reasoning behind it.
Sure. You mentioned earlier that there were 3 partners. We've talked about one leaving, but then there was another one going to leave as well.
Yeah, in 2015, she had an incredible opportunity to set up a separate company and distribute a Greek skincare line in Ireland. So she went off and we debated about holding it together. And
Sure.
then we thought we're better off dividing and conquering, that she just does that and
Sure.
I concentrate on the buff day spa. So Marsha was the lady who left and she was the accountant. So I had a very steep learning curve when she left, as you can imagine.
I'd say you did. But anyway, you were able to do it. And this sort of brought about more of the whole processes and systems that were going to go in place. So I suppose as we move the business on, or moving it back slightly, I just want to ask this question. You had a real challenge around the recession.
Yes, absolutely.
Just talk a bit about that, because a recession in a business like yours that's very hands-on, if you excuse the pun, it must have been particularly challenging.
Absolutely, because everybody, people losing their work, fearful for the future, not knowing were they safe in their jobs, everything like that. What's the first thing going to get cut? This discretionary spending.
Yes.
You don't need to get a manicure. You don't need to go for a massage. And so we were very worried at the time when we could see what was happening in the economy. But interestingly, we just really knuckled down. We had joined a program with Action Coach at the time, and it was group coaching amongst different business owners, non-competing business owners. And really that helped us to look at our different lines of growth and what we could do within the company. So we just really started focusing on that, really started doing more targeted marketing to our existing clients. We brought in a referral scheme. So if our clients come in and they refer somebody, they get a little gift, and their client coming in would get one. So all these things that we now take for granted, we would have really focused on that through the recession. And like we ended up growing the business through the recession as opposed to, you know, losing money or whatever, you know. So that was an incredible time, actually.
And I suppose the lesson there for most of our listeners is you can grow a business through recession, but it is hard work, and you need to be a bit more innovative and creative around finding those clients and then looking after and pampering them.
That's it. And obviously offering as much value as you can for, you know, for the service that they're paying for it. But I think it's incredible what you can learn from other people. I was there in that group, other business owners being led by an action coach, and then what you can learn and what you can then bring back and physically apply to your business and see the growth that comes from that.
Yeah, and I must say, I think in our experience, both of us, I think, would have gone through it. People are actually quite generous with their time, other business owners, in helping you out when you've problems.
Absolutely. And, you know, I work with clients now, and I always say this: who's in your field, who's not competing? Have you reached out to them on LinkedIn, and have you asked them to go for coffee or lunch just to pick their brains?
Yeah.
People love sharing their knowledge. And
of course they do.
The expert in their area. And people, I think, don't realize that, especially when you're starting out in business.
Yeah.
That,
and the key secret is make sure you don't make them pay for their own coffee.
Yeah. Absolutely. They can afford it.
Okay. The business is now up and running. It's systemized within an inch of its life. So it's all humming and singing and dancing, but you have other ambitions to move forward. So maybe tell our listeners a bit about that.
Yeah, so when Marsha left in 2015, I expanded into the Medi-Spa sector, bringing in high-end machines, doing different things like laser, Venus freeze, microneedling, all these high-end beauty treatments. And that was going really well. But then I really realized I had to get my business really well systemized to run without me, Eileen Fleming, that I'm not there operationally. I live in Tullamore, business is in Dublin. Can't be commuting that every day like I once would have. And I met a spa consultant, Heidi, and we set up a spa management company in 2019. And the idea behind that was that we would go into the hotel spa sector in Ireland and take over the operational running of their spas, so that they could really focus on the hotel. We would focus on the operational running and profitability of the spas. So that started in 2019.
Fantastic. And so you've sort of haven't looked back on that, because you've been able to then, now that you've understood the systemization of things, and bring it on, but you're now moved your business on into a world of coaching.
Absolutely. So in 2019, we set that up. In 2020, unfortunately, we all know what happened then. I don't need to go into it.
Thank goodness. Yeah.
The spa management sector, you know, that shut down completely. Through COVID, we were shut down, the Buff Day Spa, as everybody knows. But I started working as a consultant and a mentor with some of the local enterprise offices here in the Midlands, working with hair salons, beauty salons, barbers, you know, just really in that sector.
Sure.
In 2021, I went back to college to Trinity, and I did a postgrad in innovation and enterprise development, and I specialized in business systemization then. So since 2021, I've been working on the side, helping other small business owners to systemize their business to run without them, whether they're there or not. It doesn't have to be in the spa sector or salon sector. I work with cleaning companies, accountants, photographers, coaches. You know, as long as business is essentially business, as you know, Alec. We all still have a product or a service that we want to sell. So that's where I work now, and separate to having the Buff Day Spa as well.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. Where can our listeners find out more about your businesses? I mean, you've just celebrated 20 years in the Buff Day Spa. So maybe let's start with that. Where can people find out more about that? Yeah,
so we're all over our social medias, thebuffdayspa.com, same with the website. Very delighted to welcome any listeners in. And separate to that, then I have my consultancy business, which is under eileenfleming.ie.
Separate thing. Well, listen, Eileen, what a fantastic way to finish the show. Thank you for coming into the You and Your Business studio. Thanks also to Sam on sound. The podcast of today's show will be available on dublincityfm.ie from tomorrow. Thank you for your company. And please remember to join me, Alec Drew, again next week at the same time, 1 o'clock, right here on 103.2 Dublin City FM for another edition of You and Your Business.